India has successfully conducted a fourth test launch of its nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missile. The Agni-5 missile was launched from a site of the east coast on Monday. It's over 70 meters tall and uses solid fuel. It has 3 stages and a launch weight of 50 tons with a range of more than 5,000 kilometers.
According to India's Defense Research and Development Organization and Defense Ministry, the country successfully tested its most powerful nuclear-capable missile on Monday. CNN reports the missile was fired from a canister on a mobile launcher from an island off the coast of the eastern Indian state of Odisha. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Twitter, "Successful test firing of Agni-5 makes every Indian very proud. It will add tremendous strength to our strategic defense." This was the 4th successful test of the ICBM. The first one was launched in 2012.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, at least 34 civilians have been killed in what's been described as a massacre. The attack happened in the northeastern town of Eringeti. It follows a wave of attacks that are reported to have claimed the lives of more than 700 people in the last 2 years. An official has blamed this attack on Ugandan rebels, but some experts say the Congolese army may have been involved.
Since Boko Haram began its uprising in 2009, the jihadists have focused a lot of their attention on abducting women and girls. The most notable incident was the kidnapping of more than 200 schoolgirls from their dormitory, which gained global attention. A number of victims became sex slaves of the militants. Now it seems like senior Boko Haram members are providing specific instructions to younger boys for raping women and girls at gunpoint. The Daily Beast published a story about a child soldier who was forced to watch and learn from Boko Haram members assaulting women. The jihadist group has recently lost many senior members from battles with the army, so they've been kidnapping new child soldiers to make up for the losses.
Hey, should professors be armed on college campuses to help prevent active shooters? That's what one Florida university has decided, and they've had the sheriff's department to help make it happen.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Our goal is to give them shock and awe before they can deliver shock and awe.
So here to tell us about this program is Southeastern University's president, Dr. Ken Engel. Dr. Engel, welcome back.
Oh, good morning. It's great to be here.
So what prompted you to give this opportunity for professors to be trained with some type of firearm to prevent a would-be shooter? What prompted this action?
Well, at the very heart of this is to provide absolute commitment to a safe and secure environment for our university community, our faculty, staff, and students. I mean, when our students walk on our campus, they are trusting us to provide a sense of safety and security.
Turkey has called on members of the United States-led coalition fighting Islamic State to assist in air support to Turkey-backed troops laying siege in the ISIL-held northern Syrian town of al-Bab. Rebels supported by Turkish troops are battling ISIL in the Euphrates Shield operation launched almost 4 months ago. The operation aims to sweep the Sunni hardliners and Kurdish fighters from Turkey's border with Syria. Turkish officials confirmed that a total of 226 ISIL militants had been neutralized in latest operations around al-Bab, with intense diplomatic efforts underway to establish a ceasefire across Syria.
For these women who escaped Daesh in Mosul, this camp is an unsettling new world. 2 months after fleeing and more than 2 years after being separated from each other by Daesh, they're back together. They live in identical tents, share facilities and food. They don't think the situation will change anytime soon. And as women, they are vulnerable and have special needs in order to take care of themselves and their families. Nada has 6 children. 2 of them are still trapped in Mosul. She's not finding the living conditions easy.
The tent is not enough. We have divided it into 2 many parts, one for cooking, another for sleeping, and another to store our things. When we sleep, we're scared for the kids because when we cook and it's windy, the tent could burn out, and when it's raining, water gets into the tent.
Many of these women arrived at this camp with nothing. They lack clothes, milk, and water for their children. Zahra is 8 months pregnant and faces an uncertain future.
Now that I'm during my last month of pregnancy, any day I could give birth. I have no clothes, no milk, or any preparation for my baby.
Hassan al-Sham camp in Erbil Skalak district has taken in more than 10,000 displaced people from Mosul in the last 2 months. Camp officials say they're doing all they can to help people, especially the women.
We usually offer a monthly package to all women in the camp. And in that package, hygiene kits and dignity kits and clothes for women and different things that are necessary for women that are included in that package. And besides us, we have different organizations that are specially working in women field.
Trying to leave their past behind, the women keep themselves busy by preparing food and sharing chores. Women gather together here, trying to provide what they can for their families. They escaped war in Mosul, just 30 kilometers from here, and found refuge in tents. But this was not the end of their struggle, as they try to build a new life for themselves and their loved ones, far away from home. Abir Ahmar, RT World, Northern Iraq.
China has made a solemn representation against a newly inked U.S. bill, which could harm the relationship between China, the U.S., and the Taiwan region. The U.S. National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal 2017 was recently signed by President Barack Obama. The act approves a provision that the U.S. Defense Department can conduct a program of senior military exchanges with Taiwan. The move is a unilateral upgrade of communications with Taiwan and goes against previous China-U.S. agreements. Beijing says the content related to Taiwan in the act infringes on China's sovereignty.
On Tuesday, Taiwan's defense ministry said that the group of Chinese warships that is being led by the country's only aircraft carrier is moving towards Hainan, a southern island province of China. The group has made its way through Taiwan and has passed through Miyako and Okinawa, southern Japanese islands. Little details are available about what the Soviet-built Liaoning aircraft carrier is doing. A senior Taiwanese military official told Reuters that the aircraft is still heading southwest toward Hainan.
Rocket science from the ground. 23-year-old Hu Zhenyu and his teammates are preparing for a horizontal ground test of their new booster. It will test how well the rocket can respond to commands once it takes off. From rockets to testing facilities, the team of 6 men in their 20s built them all from scratch. Their company was founded 2 years ago in Shenzhen, a frontier city for high-tech firms. But because rocket testing requires a large open space, they then moved to an abandoned factory plant in Shandong province.
The latest test is to see if the rocket can hover like a helicopter and stay in a vertical position. Such technology is crucial for the development of future reusable rockets. We are the first company in China which has completed such tests.
In such a capital-intensive space industry, launching a rocket is costly business. There is no way on earth an average university graduate can afford a startup like this.
Other than receiving funding, we hope what we are doing can be a part of the country's space program, and private rocket companies like us can stand a chance to take part in national scientific projects which are exclusive to state institutes.
Currently, the company is getting funding through venture capital. It is just about enough to cover the basic operating costs. The company plans to develop a rocket which can carry instruments to an altitude of up to 200 kilometers, different from the usual launch vehicles which transport heavy satellites.
Over in the Philippines, Typhoon Noctan continued to buffer the northern part of the country on Monday, making landfall 8 times in a 24-hour period. At least 4 people were reported dead in the Bicol area, and nearly 400,000 people fled their homes to seek refuge in emergency shelters.
Nokten has been packing maximum sustained winds of 120 kilometers an hour. The local typhoon monitoring agency forecasts the typhoon will exit the country by Wednesday morning. Nokten is one of the strongest storms to hit the Philippines since Super Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, which killed more than 7,300 people and leveled entire communities.
Fox Extreme Weather Alert now. A white Christmas in the Great Plains has turned deadly in Utah. Icy conditions in Salt Lake County, killing a 50-year-old man when his car slid into oncoming traffic. Police say he was simply driving too fast on that slick road.
They lost control and drifted over into the westbound lanes and was hit eventually by 2 more vehicles. We've investigated hundreds of accidents across the valley today.
On so many people stuck as well. Police say the driver in that case wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Blizzard conditions have shut down highways throughout the Dakotas. No travel warnings issued in both states as whipping winds have caused near whiteout conditions. You would not get very far in that. Thousands of power outages reported in North and South Dakota as well, along with Nebraska and western Iowa. Guess you got to put a few more logs on the fire there. Other parts of Iowa are under a high wind warning due to that storm. Wind gusts up to 65 miles an hour. So you can imagine what that does to the wind chill as well. The advisory in effect until noon this afternoon, but travel conditions are going to remain dangerous throughout the Great Plains through this week. Slow down and be careful.
Well, man, oh man, heavy snow hammering parts of Arizona, as you can see there. A powerful storm made its way through the state. 14 inches of snow fell in the Flagstaff area, but the gift of a white Christmas also causing lots of problems on the roads. There were reports of multiple car crashes and road closures around northern Arizona, as well as a lot of people getting stranded in their vehicles. The heavy snow shutting down the east and westbound lanes of Interstate 40. That, of course, forced drivers to take alternate routes, so always have some extra water and food in your car.
Yeah. Parts of North and South Dakota have experienced a second day of severe blizzards. Heavy snow in parts of North Dakota saw road closures and plows at work on Christmas night. But howling winds created whiteout conditions. The National Weather Service has forecast as much as 15 inches of snow still to hit some areas before the storm system moves on. Authorities in both states have warned drivers to stay off the roads due to poor visibility and treacherous conditions.
A mass Freedom of Information request has found that local authorities in Britain have used the government's Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act to follow people and spy on them. The mass Freedom of Information exercise was carried out by the Liberal Democrat Party. It showed that local authorities use secret listening devices, cameras, and private detectives to gather evidence on people over 5 years. Critics say spying on the public should be a last resort, not an everyday tool. They say the government had promised that the government's Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, or REPA, would only be used when absolutely necessary to protect British people from extreme threats. The Home Office, however, insists that the permissions were only granted for such covert surveillance after a rigorous authorization procedure and independent inspection.
Preparing for the holidays during economic uncertainty is not easy, and the people of Zimbabwe are struggling more than most. The country is grappling with drought, as well as its worst financial crisis in 7 years. Michaela Barwick reports.
As the Christmas decorations go up in Harare, many Zimbabweans are struggling to find the holiday cheer. Severe drought has left more than 4 million people facing hunger. And a financial crisis has fueled some of the biggest anti-government protests in a decade. Street vendor Clever Mabachi says his seasonal trade has taken a hit.
I've been selling Christmas decorations since 2009, but this year doesn't look promising in terms of sales because of the cash crisis.
Last month, the country introduced a new currency, bond notes, to ease the shortage of US dollars. It holds no value outside of Zimbabwe. Critics worry that the US dollar will run out and Zimbabwe will not be able to buy imports from other countries. There's also fears that the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe will print more than the $200 million insurance limit of the bond notes. and that could plunge the economy back into the hyperinflation seen before 2009.
2016 has been a tough year for us Zimbabweans. There's no cash, there's nothing to celebrate this Christmas, and even the introduction of the bond notes has not solved anything because people are still queuing up in the banks, and the bond notes are so few.
Zimbabwe needs to repay its creditors, which include the IMF and World Bank, $1.8 billion before it can start borrowing. And its cash-strapped government hasn't been able to pay people like teachers and health workers.
When you look at it across the sectors, there have been salary cuts, and in some cases salaries are not coming. So people are burdened. And for people to celebrate in that context is difficult, if not impossible.
Zimbabwe's economy has halved since 2000, and its 2016 budget deficit is expected to widen to $1.2 billion. That's nearly 8 times more than it forecast a year ago, with Zimbabweans bracing for even tougher times into the new year. Michaela Barwick, TRT World.
The UN High Commission for Refugees says some 1,000 people from the Middle East, Asia and Africa were deported in November alone while plying the route. NGOs and activists are also warning that an increasing number of legally registered migrants were being illegally deported from Serbia, Bulgaria and Macedonia. The Balkans route was declared shut down in March, and before that, hundreds and thousands of migrants would travel through Macedonia, Serbia, Croatia and Hungary in their bid to reach Western Europe from Greece.
And turning to politics now, President Obama slammed at the national menorah lighting ceremony, a rabbi furious over his decision not to stop a UN vote against Israel settlements. This as tensions grow between the president and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Our very own Kristen Fisher live in Washington, D.C. this morning with the very latest on that. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Jackie. Well, the Israeli government is accusing the Obama administration of not only refusing to block that UN resolution, but also creating and campaigning for its passage. Well, that prompted a very strong reaction from senior White House officials. They say, quote, the U.S. did not draft this resolution, nor did the U.S. introduce this resolution. The Egyptians, in partnership with the Palestinians, are the ones who began circulating an earlier draft of the resolution. But at the same time, the U.S. did refused to use its veto power at that Security Council vote condemning Israeli settlements on the West Bank. Well, the move prompted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to recall the U.S. ambassador, saying friends don't take friends to the Security Council.
There's less than 1 month until U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office, and yet some experts are raising concerns that the incoming administration seems to lack a plan on how to deal with North Korea. During an interview with CBS News on Monday, Bonnie Glaser, the senior advisor for Asia at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, said North Korea is not an issue that Trump knows a lot about. She said the North could pose an existential threat to the U.S. if Pyongyang succeeds in making a nuclear warhead that could reach U.S. territory. Glaser also noted that the Trump team doesn't seem to have a full strategy on China either. During his campaign, Trump said he would pressure Beijing to exercise its influence over Pyongyang, asserting the North is basically China's problem to fix.
North Korea's cyber threats topped the agenda of a cabinet meeting this morning. The meeting was chaired by acting President and Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn and held by video conference. Officials discussed plans to establish a cybersecurity committee that will act as a control tower in the event of such threats from the North. Officials also agreed to raise the reward for reporting North Korean espionage activities from the current $400,000 to $1.6 million.